Hello class, we are continuing our Module 6, Developing Relationships in Marketing. This time we will be working on Chapter 12, Dimensions of Marketing Strategy. Again, our learning objectives include these four. Describe the role of product in the marketing mix, including how products are developed, classified, and identified. Sorry about that. We're going to define price and discuss its importance in the marketing mix, and including various pricing strategies a firm might employ. We're going to identify factors affecting the distribution decisions, such as marketing channels and intensity of market coverage. We're going to specify the activities involved in promotion as well as promotional strategies and promotional positioning. The marketing mix, and we talked about the marketing mix before in the previous chapter. So we're going to assume that you remember what the marketing mix is, and it's going to be a part of the strategy that involves decisions regarding controllable variables. And what does that mean, really? To me, if you break that down even further, we're going to use the marketing mix in such a way that it will be we will use our marketing mix in such a way that it will determine the variables, the control variables within our decision process. So we already know what our target market is. We're going to manage that, and we're going to determine dimensions of the marketing mix to give the firm the advantage. For example, you have all four of the marketing mix. We're going to use them in various levels and various ways in order to gain an advantage over our competitors. Successful companies offer at least one dimension of the marketing mix that surpasses all competitors, and that's important. And a marketer, they're going to have to determine which one is going to be that part of the mix that's very, very critical to it being successful. Companies are going to also maintain acceptable and distinguishable differences in the other dimensions as well. The main thing is knowing what part of the marketing mix is going to be most effective, but also being able to distinguish among the others and use them as you need them, as an important part of your strategy. The product development process. Now again, we're talking about something that's sometimes very, very tangible that you can touch. But we're going to talk about how it starts and how does it get to the customer like you and me. It starts with an idea. Sometimes the idea could very well be it's something that has to be patented. But it's your idea. You're going to screen that product. You're going to test the product to see if it works and it can be successful. You're going to do an analysis of the business. What does that mean? It's going to be really, what is that product going to do in the business? How can we analyze it to be effective? We're going to develop that product. And that's going to be, again, another really major process because it's going to be how much money we're going to invest in creating the product. And we're going to screen it through our marketing. I'm sorry, it just keeps going so fast. Through test marketing. And we're going to send it out to be for commercial use. The idea usually is going to be, let's just assume, let's create a scenario. We have this organization and they have a department and it's a marketing research area, and their job is to find ways to generate ideas for a development or some kind of product they want to develop. And so let's think about it let's use a company. I'm going to use Shea Moisture. This product line is an organization that produces products for individuals who have natural hair, curly hair actually. And what this organization does is they create these various products that they believe will solve issues relating to hair that is natural. That being said, they have a group of people coming together, and some of the groups of individuals coming together will be part of outside agencies. But nevertheless, they come together in a room and they discuss the strategy. What is the new trend? What are the needs that we are not meeting? What are the needs that we are meeting but we could do in a different way? And they come together and they create these ideas. These ideas are screened because what we have to do is make certain that we can actually produce something like this, that it makes more sense and is cost effective. So it goes through this process of screening. So Shea Moisture gets their investment individuals, their screening individuals in, and they say, these are the products that I think will warranted more investigation. Once they do that, they talk about business analysis. And again, with Shea Moisture, they're going to take that particular product that they're thinking about, and they're compared with the products they're already providing to make sure that there's no duplication, make sure there's no overlap. And then they say, okay, what can we assume? Can we assume that this product can make the kind of sales that we're looking for? And once the product is determined through that process, they go in and they decide to produce it. Now, prototypes, in a sense of a product that you use on your hair, may not necessarily be something physical that you can move around. They might just formulate the product inside a lab and determine the components, what kind of components, and the various levels of those components creates this product that they like to look at. So they develop it, they look at it, they basically recreate it or create it in a test environment. And while they're in this environment of development, they're going to make certain that the product is consistent with their strategy of making products for hair. So once that product is formulated and they feel comfortable with its safety, etc., they do a test marketing. The test marketing could very well be with other hairstylists or bloggers. And what they'll do is they'll throw it out there. They'll launch it out in this very, very limited area to see whether or not the product is going to deliver what they say it's going to deliver. Once they get that feedback, if the feedback is very, very overwhelmingly positive, they are now ready to commit full amount of money to producing a mass quantity of these products and then commercialize it or make it available for commercial use. So products are classified as consumer or business product. Consumer products are the things that you use every day in one form or another, whether it be for convenience, whether it be for shopping products or specialty. In some area, we are going to be involved in those three different types of products. The business products are going to be really going to be for directly or indirectly for the operation of a business. And those items are going to be, relationships are going to be key, because when you're talking about a business that you're trying to sell your product to, you're really going to have to make certain that product has a relationship to that business that you're directing your product to. Corrosive related products are part of a product line in which we use Shea Moisture, and they have their shampoos and their conditioners and their deep conditioners and their stylers. All of that is a part of a product line, and will be part of a similar marketing strategy. And the product mix is going to be all products offered by that organization. And Shea Moisture will have about 10 different product mixtures and several different product lines within those mixtures. And again, one of the things that you need to understand about product strategy is knowing what stage a product will be in and what to do through those different stages. It goes through an introductory stage, it goes through a growth stage where you get a lot of increasing sales in the volume, and the profit correspondingly goes up. And then that product goes into a maturity phase where most organizations may have to go through a process of redesigning it to make it more efficient, because at some point it's going to go through a decline stage. And it's important for marketers to know it. They need to know how to identify those stages and be very careful on how to deal with their product in each one of those stages. So in the introductory stage, you're talking about focusing on making consumers aware of the product and its benefits. High level of marketing and promotion is going to be in this introductory stage. The growth stage is when they strengthen their position. Again, we clearly know who wants our product. We're clearly targeting those items and targeting those individuals and companies, and now we're at a stage where they're actually buying our product. So we're going to do what we can to emphasize the benefits of our product. We're going to use a lot of strategies like promotions, a lot of discounts and coupons and those kind of things to allow the organization to gain a stronger position in that particular product line. Now, this is where maturity stage creates. When you're talking about hair products, etc., you're dealing with a lot of new products coming into the market all the time. So competition is going to be very, very, very stiff in this area, and you're going to see I would say a maximum penetration stage where you're actually saturated the market with your product, and it's at a maturity stage. People are aware of it, but now you're dealing with people being aware of your product, but also other products as well. And then sometimes and oftentimes a product may go through a decline phase. And again, this has a lot to do with cars. Sometimes cars are just no longer popular, people are no longer buying them, and they will eventually phase those products out. Branding. Part of the strategy for a product is being able to name it. what can you identify this product with, giving it a brand name, a symbol, something, or a combination that makes this product different from anything else and sets it apart so it can be identifiable. Um, and a brand name, obviously, it can be letters, words, or numbers. Think of a brand name that you are aware of, not necessarily in the hair care, but also in retail, in food or restaurants, fast food restaurants. Think about that. Think about a brand mark, whether it be the McDonald's arches. Those kind of things, although we take them for granted, are critical because that brand is going to actually set your product apart from any other organization that provides a similar product. So it's very important to have a distinctive seal that makes your product different. Sometimes trademarks are important because if you have a brand and you feel very good about this brand, you don't want it used by someone else, and they can tap into your revenue and your market stream. So trademarking is a very important part of branding your product. Product strategy. Again, we've taken the product and we put it into three different categories: into generic products, private distributor brands, and manufacturing brands. And your strategy is going to be very different based on those three. So you're thinking about your strategy. You're going to also have to think about how the person or people or groups of individuals are going to view your product. How's it going to look? It influences the attitudes. And as we've been talking about marketing, what's about buyers' behavior that we need to understand, packaging is a big part of that. Packaging is shown to be a very, very discernible part of a buying decision. It has to be appealing. It has to be something that they will not be offended by, meaning it won't hurt the environment, that the labeling is clear. People can understand what needs to be done. Their warnings and instructions on how to use is clear. That's very important. And the degree of quality that that particular item provides. So you need to make certain that your packaging is good, your labeling is good, and that that item is very, very prepared or actually distributed in the most quality way so that you can get a product that actually works and it's not subject to any problems with it being delivered to you when it's expired. So these are some logos and some different logos that, or I guess brands that you will probably recognize if you see them on the street. But what we want to do here is just really stress the importance of how a brand can really make a difference when whether or not an organization or a person can identify your product. And I have to say, branding is very, very critical, and you need to be extremely concerned about how you brand your product initially when it goes into the market, because it's going to set the tone for every product that you actually deliver to the public. So oftentimes marketing professionals, they seek advice from others outside the firm to ensure that their branding is appropriate and that is a good brand and not an offensive brand. And there have been times when a brand has been offensive, and because of the brand being so offensive, product did not sell at all. So it's a very important part of the strategy. The pricing strategy is anything of value can be assessed by a price. Consumers going to vary in their response. Again, depending on what the product is. The perceived value, again, subjective, is going to be something that you have to consider. So once you decide you're at a point where you're going to have to price this particular item, you're going to have to look at a lot of variables. And this is going to be a good idea of how you can follow the steps to make certain that you can calculate in a reasonable way the value that you believe a product has. First of all, once you've identified the market, you have to make certain that you know who those alternatives are, because you want to know what they're providing as an alternative, what prices, and then the market of individuals that they are targeting their product, their alternative product to. And you're going to also look at the difference between the two. What is that difference between what you're providing, your product, and the alternative that may be available to you, the target market? And you're going to calculate your value based on its differentiation. Differentiation is how can you make that product different? How can you set it apart from anything else out there in the marketplace? And differentiation is critical because if an organization doesn't, or a person does not see any difference between your product and something else, you may very well lose a customer because they may purchase a product because they think it's cheaper. And sometimes being cheaper is not always best when you're talking about buying behaviors of consumers. So price is important, and you have to make certain that your price is going to be are consistent with your target market. Some organizations have target markets that are upscale. In the case of Porsche or Mercedes or BMW vehicles, you're not going to get someone to buy your vehicle if they are a school teacher or if they are a student. They're just not going to be able to afford it. So their target is going to be to upscale. So your pricing strategy has to consider that. And the pricing objective is going to specify the role of price on the organization's marketing mix and strategy. You're going to maximize your profits because that's important. You want to make sure you boost your market share, which means that people are going to recognize your product and know who you are, and you're going to have a big share of that market. And you're going to make sure to maintain the status quo, meaning you're going to provide a product that you know people want and need, and you're going to be able to do it in such a way that it keeps your organization viable. Pricing strategies provide guidelines for achieving pricing objectives. It's the guidelines that the organization establishes is going to be consistent with their objectives. They want to make certain that the price is low enough to give them the market share, but high enough to give them a reasonable profit. They want the highest price because they want to make certain that they want to have an individual or products that give them a profit, but they want to make certain that people can buy it. So it's very delicate balance between the two, but more organizations using their strategies and their research can come very close to an average price that would be able to keep their market share and their products selling. Psychological pricing encourages purchase based on emotional rather than rational responses to price. Again, this is all about perceived value, and it's how subjective it is to the individual and their buying pattern. If they feel that this product is prestigious to them, they will assume that higher price means high quality. That may not necessarily be true, but again, we're using psychology to understand the way people think and why people do what they do as it relates to buying products. You can also use discounts and coupons, all of those types of things to get people to try your product. I've seen many organizations give you a sample of that product for free. For example, if you're talking about a supply of shampoo, and shampoo generally is in a 12-ounce bottle. Well, if you gave them a 4-ounce replica of that product for free, those types of things allow people to try your product at zero to no risk for them. Or you can also deal with quantity discounts. You can deal with coupons, meaning you can get certain a dollar amount off if you use a coupon code. And again, using coupons and discounts is just a strategy to allow people to try to get your product that they're not currently using it, or people who've tried your product and they say, well, I'm not really sure, but a discount gives them that incentive to buy it again and again and again and again. So it's another part of the strategy in order for you to get that product into the market where you enter the growth phase and then ultimately to the maturity phase. The distribution strategy is about how we get the product to the individuals who want it and need it and willing to pay for it. And the marketing channel talks about a group of organizations that move products from their producer to the customers. And it's called the channel distribution. Again, it's just physically moving that product from point A to, again, C, and that's the individuals who are going to use it and pay for it. It makes the product available to customers when and where they desire to purchase them. And a lot of that is going to be online because we're talking about the information technology age, and everybody's using the online process to buy a mini amount of their products. This could be being physically located in a place where people will buy it, meaning if you're in a city, having shopping centers will be an important place to market your product, because you know people will be going to shopping centers to buy other products, and they will see your product within that. Sometimes it's not really critical, but it's another mechanism that organizations will use, and they'll use an intermediary or a middleman that will bridge the gap. And again, manufacturers sometimes do provide the products to the ultimate customer, but it's not always feasible or efficient for them to do so, in which case they would use middlemen to do that. A middleman or intermediary may very well be the very most critical part, because that's going to be the person that customers actually see. And one example would be if you're buying, I guess you could buy a washing machine. If you're going to buy a washing machine, you could go directly to the manufacturer, but it would be difficult to do that. and it actually be more expensive. So what happens? You will go to a Best Buy, you will go to a Sam's Club, you'll go to a Walmart or another place, and you will buy it from them. In which case, instead of buying directly from the manufacturer of that washing machine, LG or any other company, you'll buy from the middleman that have a relationship with the manufacturer, and you can buy it from them. And again, this is about distribution. How easy is it to get my product, washing machine, to the customer who will actually use it? So the strategy is going to be about that. When you're talking about your distribution strategy, if what is it important to use an intermediary? And it depends on what your organization and what you're trying to do. If you are talking about a wholesaler might very well be in the best position to have a intermediary. They may very well be in a position to work directly with retailers as opposed to working with the customer. Now understand that a wholesaler often, and in some cases, work with consumers who will actually use the product, but not always. And that's important because the flow of the products may go from wholesaler to consumer, but most often it's going to go from wholesaler to retailer, in which case the retailer will be maybe a Dell, not a Dell, but a Best Buy or a Walmart. So using those kind of strategies really depends on your product and how you want to get it out and the ease of distribution. A major distribution decision is how widely to distribute a product, how many and what type. This is critical because when you have a new product, the question is how much do you want to go out? How many products do you want to go out and what type of outlets you're going to use? And part of your research is going to be how can you find out what will be the most efficient way to get the products out to your clients. So an intensive distribution is going to be made available to as many outlets as possible, used frequently for purchase items. Now, selective is going to be only a small number of outlets going to be used to expose their products, and it's going to be used often when consumers buy only after shopping and comparing price, quality, and style. Selective distribution happens with hair care products, with different products that you don't normally have to use every single day or that you don't need often. And usually if they're not really sure how well this particular product will do on an intensive distribution, they will say, I will use only Ulta to deliver my products, or I will only use or I will only use Sally's to distribute my product. And again, it's a very important part of it because you have to think about the product itself, how useful it is, how important it is to the consumer, and this channel of distribution will be the most efficient for your organization and not interfere with your profit. Exclusive distribution, again, this one here is about very, very specific, defined geographic territory. Also, it includes high quality merchandise. And again, these are going to be the more expensive type of things. Physical distribution, let's think about this one. This one here might be all the activities necessary to move a product of producers. This might very well be organizations where they have a lot of small items that they want to use, and they may have a physical distribution strategy where they actually have to physically get items and move them to a warehouse, and then where the warehouse is going to actually move it to the establishment where it's going to be sold, and then to the customer. And again, it depends on the actual, it really depends on the product itself that this strategy might be utilized. Now, distribution strategy. This is particularly relevant when you're talking about, let's think about this one, vehicles. Now, we have this plant in Michigan. Let's assume that we have an automobile plant in Michigan and in Pennsylvania. Well, we got to get these cars that we're gonna send to the intermediary, which will be a car dealership. We need to get those cars from our manufacturing plant to those different outlets where they're going to actually sell to consumers. Well, that being said, they have to consider the cost of transporting it, whether they use a motor vehicle or some kind of major truck to move them, or railways, or any other way that they want to get the actual product to the retailer, which in then turn sell it to the consumer. So using transportation as a way to get the products to the buyers is going to be considering the type of product it is and the greater flexibility of that transportation, and most certainly cost. Warehousing is the design and operation of facilities to receive, store, and ship products. This is going to be for organizations that um, have their own warehouse, in which case is much more efficient for them. And they keep that warehouse maintained and utilize that particular warehouse to distribute all their products to the customers as they need it. Materials handling is very, very self-explanatory. It's just a matter of maintaining it, maintaining the products in such a way that they are not broken or harmed, and they can be intact when they are ready to be delivered to the customer. Packaging, we talked about how packaging was important because people need to have information that they need to use the product properly, and to be able to understand any side effects that may be or related to incorrect use, and what to do. And in some cases, it's required by law to be able to tell what is the ingredients of a particular product that you're buying. So promotion obviously is very, very important, but it encourages people to accept the product, and it influences their behavior. It is about how can we make this particular item that we're trying to sell look good, feel good, and meet their needs, and not offend. So we use various strategies to promote it. And advertising and selling is also a part of that. And it is getting about transmitting some information to a larger group of people through a magazine or a commercial or online ad to get them to be influenced to buy their product. Personal selling is great, and it is a two-way thing where the potential buyer and the sellers come together, and he can give a very personal method of explaining the product. They can give you allow you to a chance to see the product being used, or provide a demonstration of the product, and it also utilizes salespersons who are very well aware of that product and how to educate you on what is the best product that may be for your need. So using salespersons is very important. So the promotional strategy is important, but we need to make certain that we understand what sales is and what it is not. In sales, you have to find your buyers. You have to approach them, either through calling them or through some other way of referrals. You have to demonstrate that product, meaning if it's a product that can be touched or feel or tasted, you have to allow yourself to demonstrate how it is effectively used to get the most benefit. You have to deal with people who may not like it or object to it, and it is about, again, asking them for the sale. But again, selling is all about getting to convince someone to buy your product at the price that you're willing to sell it. Promoting through publicity, obviously you can do mass media, you can do billboards, you can do a news story, all sorts of things. And again, depending on the cost and also the organization's their own strategy, they may very well hold promotion to the very end, because it is the most risky and the most expensive part of this marketing strategy. And it has to be extremely purposeful. It has to be impactful. It has to very well be cost effective. And the duration of it, because advertising needs to be repeated over and over again, you need to make certain that you can get your money back. Buzz market is about advertising where they try to create a trend. And this is important when you're talking about iPhones and other kinds of gadgets that people seem to love and enjoy to use. But more than that, you use buzz marketing on a limited situation, because it is not, I would say, foolproof. And sometimes it doesn't always work. But organizations have used it when they felt that the benefits outweigh the risk of that type of strategy. Sales promotions are always good because they are directly inducing you in some way to buy their product. They use certain things like I'm going to store displays, samples. And I think samples are the best way, because people can actually use a product and really not really lose anything. And they can say from themselves, this is not the product I want, or this is the product I want. Using coupons and sweepstakes are great because it allows individuals to take part. So it gives them an active role in that process, and people feel more empowered. Trade shows are a good way too, really depending on the product that you're trying to promote. But in the end, you want to make certain that whatever method of promoting your product that you use, that it does give you the output that you're looking for. So the promotional strategy is going to be develop a mixed and company must decide whether or not to pull or push the product. Which one means something to you? The first is a push strategy, and is an attempt to motivate intermediaries to push the product down to their customers. And that's important when you're talking about you want to distribute your products, your hair products, to a Walmart. And you're going to be working with Walmart, so you're going to be using that strategy because you want Walmart to put your product on their shelves. But the pull strategy also indicates using promotion to create customer demand so that customers exert pressure on a marketing channel. And again, promotion is critical here. And you think about the different types of products or services that will be most effective promoted using the push strategy and the pull strategy. And it's here is just giving you some ideas of how personal selling does indicate a push strategy. Very, very important to see how organizations use promotion in various ways to achieve their objectives. And oftentimes they don't use just one strategy. They may have two different types of strategies depending on the geographic area or the demographics that they're trying to reach at the time. So a promotion should stimulate demand, it should stabilize sales, and it should inform, remind, and reinforce the customers that they already have. Promotional positioning uses promotion to maintain an image of your product in your buyer's minds. They want you to think about them when you think about a different problem. If you have an issue, they want their product to be in your mind when you think about a solution. And that's what promotion really does. The importance of marketing strategy is because it creates value through the marketing mix. It mix is carefully integrated into a strategy. It provides company with effective marketing mix to gain an advantage, a competitive advantage. It also advantages come when a company excels in one or more elements in the marketing mix, so they can gain an advantage and also be the leader in that particular market. And companies must monitor their demand and adapt a marketing mix when needed. And this means when your organization is at a point where your product is at the maturity phase, they don't need to be able to monitor that because they want to keep the product going and making money. So they have to adapt a change in their marketing mix as they need to ensure that they can maintain their advantage in their marketing or maintain their advantage. This chapter is concluding, but before you do so, be sure to know I will stop here. I will stop at this point. End of the discussions. Think about the product life cycle. Think about a particular product life cycle. Like, for example, if something that you have purchased for many years or really like a product and you buy it over and over again, think about that product. And can you determine what phase that product may be in the life cycle process? And then think about how does a product life cycle stage affect the marketing strategy? And then finally, how do publicity and advertising differ? How are they related? The most important thing is understanding technically what marketing does and how publicity and advertising relate. Thank you very much for listening, and I will talk to you again on the next one.